All right, welcome again to another episode of Rich Life Projects. And again, my guest this morning in Melbourne town, Angerfist herself, one of the pioneers of women MMA and a champion human, Arlene Angerfist. Welcome to the Rich Life Projects.
Hey, Rich. It's good to be down here.
Yeah, it is. It's great to have you here in the booth today. What's been happening in your life? Well, I pretty much see what's happening in your life. You're going crazy from overseas
I was going to say,
Australia.
can you hear my American accent? I'm starting to get one.
Starting to get one. How's life treating you at the moment? What's been happening?
Good. I'm just enjoying some life back at home.
Yep.
Back with the family. But I've not recently come back from America.
Yep.
I've taken on a coaching gig at Jackson Wink with one of the girls from Bare Knuckle Boxing.
Jackson crew, it's like you're part of the family now.
I am most definitely part of the family. I'm kind of feeling torn whenever I'm home. I'm feeling like I'm missing out being over there, but then when I'm over there, I'm missing out on being here. So it's like, I've got.
Jackson's a good family to be at. But like if you're going to travel the world with any MMA family, I've found like Jackson's the most welcoming. Back when I was doing over at Jackson's, but yourself, I see a lot of the work that you're doing with Holly and Michelle and the Jackson crew, and they're a great family, aren't they?
Definitely, the coaches, the team, everyone. I've slotted into being part of the family for sure.
Yeah, and at home, obviously the kids are growing tall and working and union and
it's ridiculous. I'm the shortest one out of them now. Both my daughter and my son are taller than me, so I kind of look up to them. But
that's all right. That's
6'1" Keanu is now. So
6'1".
Yeah.
Wow, and he's still into the soccer, obviously.
Yeah. No, he's going well. Yeah, so he had a couple of options for next season team wise, but he keeps his head screwed on. I definitely think he's the goal. Obviously, the goal for him is to represent Australia and get overseas and play in that. So it's exciting to watch him. Go from this tall to doing what he's doing now. So.
Kids grow up so fast.
As you know.
As I know. And Dee, the partner, he's still going well.
He's awesome. Yeah. I'm so lucky. As I said to you earlier before, like I just, it takes a strong man to, be supportive to someone that,
100%,
is in my situation. Like I'm, traveling the world, training in gyms, all over the place, but he's my number one. He's my number one fan and supporter, and he's got my back with everything. It's always that double-edged sword, isn't it? When you see sort of, as we spoke about with the sportsmen, when you got the wives of the sportsmen, the men sportsmen go off and do what they got to do because that's classed as normality back in the day. But now the women's combat sport and sport in general, women's sport is just growing and growing and growing. And now the reverse roles where the man sort of he takes care of the home at some stages because if he's doing sport or something himself, but taking care of the home, you're out there obviously doing the MMA fighting. So it's a reverse role, but still a great team. Worked really well in our relationship is that Dion's been at the pinnacle of his sport. Like he's, from the soccer
professional
world.
Soccer.
So like, he got to travel, he got to, see what it's all about. So, he supports what I do and understands what I'm doing is something that has to be done for me to sort of be at the pinnacle of where I'm at. So, we make it work, and it makes it so much easier to have that support. Like, especially for me when I'm sort of, having my moments and I'm like, I'm ready for retirement, I'm ready for this. And he's like, no, well, like, it was actually probably about 4 or 5 years ago now, I actually really was ready for retirement and, going to have that next stage of our life, which was, having a baby and this and that. And I was very lucky because he was the one that actually said, like, if you retire now, especially at your age, not that I was old back then anyway, but like, for the most part of it, like it's hard to come back. He goes, are you sure that you want to do it? And thank God for me, I didn't, because like the next stages that proceeded after that were to get me to the stages that I'm at now. So and I thank him for that a lot.
Yeah, very, very lucky. Great, a great man to do that support, and obviously you do it both together so well. And it takes, as I say, that in this game, combat sport or just sport in general, it's a very hard thing to keep the team together when they're on two different journeys as well. It's a very hard thing.
I guess too. I'm lucky my whole family, like even both the kids. I was stuck overseas for 6 months last year.
Yeah.
So that's 6 months. That's half a year
that
I missed out on both of their lives. But they're super supportive too in
Yeah.
it. Like they understand that what I've got to do. Like okay, I'm heading overseas for 2.5 months.
Now it's your
they
career.
get it.
That's your full-time career.
Yeah.
So,
and it gives them a few extra luxuries.
Mum's not home. We don't get in trouble.
Yeah. Can you bring me those new Jordans that are out in America when you come home?
He's a bit of a pushover. We'll have him there, but Mum's not home.
He's not a pushover at all.
He was the old strict old.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to have, but that's good to have. So let's go back to the early days growing up. Obviously, your background, Filipino with Mum.
Yep.
Mum Filipino.
Yep.
Dad, what's Dad?
He was Aussie.
Aussie, okay.
Yeah.
And they met obviously in Australia or overseas?
No, in the Philippines. So my mum was my dad's second wife.
Yep.
He had a failed relationship over here, went overseas, as the story often goes.
Yeah.
Mum was 26 when she fell pregnant with me, and they moved back over here, and she couldn't speak any English. It's
Really?
interesting. It's not until my adult years now you have these conversations, and obviously as a parent, then you realize yourself like, shit, things must have been hard. So she couldn't speak a word of English when I was born. So I like putting myself in her situation, like being in an Australian hospital,
Whole foreign country.
having a baby, because there's a bit of a running joke in my fight career that I look like I'm more Islander than I am Filipino, especially the size. Like I definitely don't have that Asian build.
True.
And I always say to her, like, Mum, are you sure that, you didn't room with an Islander lady and I was switched at birth and there's
something's going on
and
there.
she's like, no. She said, I didn't let you out of my sight. She said, I wheeled you into the bathroom with me, and I think back now for her, she would have been scared thinking, especially in horror stories, like she probably was thinking that she'd wake up one morning and I was stolen or something, you know what I mean?
True,
So
yeah.
I sort of realised that. So yes, I definitely wasn't switched. I'm me. I'm
no, definitely.
She didn't lose me along the way.
Yeah. So growing up, they moved to where, Australia, in Sydney or?
So I was born in Manly. Not long after that, my family moved to Queensland, and that's where my sister was born. So we lived on Miles, which is like inland. So, I think I was like a couple of months old. So born in New South Wales, and that's why I go for New South Wales in the origin, even though I was brought up in Queens.
Stop this session right now. Stop this session right now. I thought I was talking to a Queenslander as well, but anyway.
I was raised in Queensland, but state of origin. So I grew up in Queensland, spent the majority of my life in Gympie.
Oh, yeah, beautiful Gympie.
Yeah, good old Gympie. And then, my father was abusive. Terrible man. Long story short, very, very long story short. But I ran away from home when I was 12, almost 13.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so spent a good sort of 6 or 7 months just doing the wrong thing at that age. On the streets, just thinking that, it's crazy, especially
on the streets of Gympie?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
I tell you what, there'd be a lot to do on Gympie streets.
Sort of just, sleeping on friends' couches, like this and that,
Different crowds.
Yeah, generally the wrong crowd. And this is one of the things, like in my adult life now, especially too, at that time, I'm thinking I'm like an adult. And then 100%. You see them, you see like 12 and 13-year-olds, you're like, damn, you're just a kid. Like, how was I thinking?
That mentality back there, back in the day.
So ready to grow up and be older. And, and then I met my eventual children's father's family.
Oh, okay, yep.
So they took me in.
Yep.
And at the young age of 13 and 14, that's when I met the kid's dad. Long story short, their parents, like his parents broke up. His mum moved to New South Wales, and that's when I moved down with them.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Where was that? I think was that like Port Macquarie or somewhere?
Yeah, so that's how I ended up in Port Macquarie. Yeah,
years ago.
So I was 15.
Oh, true.
Just turning 16. Still thinking I was
still invincible, ruling the world.
Yeah, crazy. And then like his mother was going through a lot, with the divorce and stuff like that. So she was off doing her own thing. So I was it was just me and the kid's dad living at home in this house. Like we took over paying rent. I was part-time working at a supermarket as well as going to school. And school pretty much just took a back seat then.
Yep.
And again, another long story short, by 17 I was pregnant.
Yep.
18 I was we were
18-year-old and your mum. Wow, that's crazy.
Which is just,
blessing in one way because
100%.
one you were young and obviously in that relationship, but
Yep.
two now because your children are getting older and
Yep.
you're still young-ish.
Yep.
You know, it's good to still be able to do things with the kids and,
Oh.
and talk to them on a level where you're sort of still a bit of a teenager at heart, as all fighters are, because you get to that stage where you just never want to give that life away.
Yeah.
But
No, I've always said Kayla's an old soul. So she's 21, almost 22 now, and honestly, she's the one thing I definitely did right in life.
brain.
Yeah, like her growing up, I felt like I was a kid.
Yeah, true.
But I was very lucky with her. She was a very good kid, easy baby.
Yep.
So like when I tell my story, obviously that I was, an 18 when I was when I had her. I think a lot of people think it was just a sort of new relationship, but I'd been with the kid's dad for like 4 years already. So it was like, we were in a pretty steady, terrible, volatile relationship though.
Yeah.
So this is like looking back at my life, like, coming from an abusive life growing up.
Yep.
Yeah, I sort of, settled then into like a relationship. The kid's dad wasn't, we were such young kids too.
True.
This is the thing, like, but we were volatile. Like, we fought like cats and dogs all the time. It was terrible.
Yep.
And that was sort of the environment that, Kayla was brought up in. She cannot stand conflict now. Like I look at like sort of the repercussions of it.
Yeah.
And
that's a part of the growing up and the little bit of the scarring, when you see that and then you don't want to deal with that. Even like myself, I could look at someone fighting in a ring or cage and be excited because I know that environment's where it's supposed to be. But if I seen someone fight on the street or confrontation with myself, I'm just like, it's like I get anxiety. So I'm like, I just don't want to deal with this because this isn't, I don't feel normal this.
Yeah, well, it's not a controlled environment. It's like, but then so I was a young mum at 18. I was 26 when Kian was born.
Yep.
He was sort of the attempted Band-Aid baby, I guess. It didn't work. So, we ended up breaking up. So, after 13 years. And, he...
Just enough was enough.
Oh, definitely. Like, it's just, super, super controlling. We just fought all the time. There was just a lot of stuff like, he was on the wrong side of the law and this is literally just scraping the surface of sort of like the stuff and the life that I was sort of involved in. But
100%.
I sort of at 26 just was sort of sat back and was like, shit, what do I do with my life now? Like I was, a stay-at-home mum. I've got 2 kids, and it's like, financially he was the one that was bringing in all the money, and then so like, I was a single mum who didn't have anything to my name. I didn't have a career. Like I was just, I was a mum. So it's like
amazing, sort of a little bit of a turnaround where you sort of probably felt a little bit trapped at one stage for a little bit, and then did you, when you got to that stage and you went through that whole environment, but mindset of going, okay, what I'm going to do with my life?
Yeah.
When did the martial arts side of it, obviously living in Port Macquarie, what was the next step from that?
There had always been a seed planted there. So like the kid's dad was an amateur boxer in Queensland.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and his dad was actually a boxing coach. So that's how I guess I was first sort of introduced into it. Like I remember like, so I mean, even before I was with him, but like, the family took me in. I remember like rocking up to the boxing gym. I'm like, oh, this is fucking pretty cool. Like it just, it stunk, the smell of a boxing gym.
Hey, that's a view. That's God's smell, that one.
Yeah, like I just, I loved it. But I then wasn't allowed to do it once I was with the kid's dad. He was, super controlling, didn't want me hanging around the gym or didn't want his dad coaching me. Just, so it was like I had that held back from me.
Yeah,
and
crazy.
then when we broke up, it was interesting how it all just sort of worked out. Like I remember driving along in the car and on the radio, it had come up because boxing in New South Wales was illegal at that time for females.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it wasn't until it was introduced into the London Olympics in 2012 for the first time that New South Wales had to drop their ban. So I remember Kay Scott. So she's one of the amateur boxers.
She's still an amateur, isn't she?
She just fought in Commonwealth Games. I think she's turning pro now. So she made history by being the first Australian female to represent Australia in 3 Commonwealth Games. So that's 12 years of yeah. So I think she's planning on turning professional now. But she just won silver at the Commonwealth Games.
Yep.
But yeah, so her and Tammy Taylor were the first female fighters. They had a bout, and then Kay Scott, and then Tammy and I. So I was amongst those group of girls that were sort of the pioneers of female amateur boxing in New South Wales. Yeah, which is crazy because now you just look at all the girls. This progression over the 13 years that I've been doing it. Like how many girls, and not just boxing, but even in the MMA gyms and
women. That's what I say. Women's sport, whether it's rugby league, Newcastle, even the NRL teams are getting women's teams together. AFL down here's got a massive following with the women's AFL, and then combat sport you see it all over the world in MMA, boxing. It's literally over the probably last 15 years. Women's sport is just growing and growing, and to be honest, sometimes the women's sport is more entertaining than the guys.
100%.
So everyone's
technical.
Where was all this
exactly?
Before,
And it's cool. It's definitely cool for me to see that because once upon a time, I remember when I first started, I was usually the one girl on the mats with all guys, and whereas now there's a handful of girls
just all trained, and because again it's the pioneers like yourself and other athletes or fighters that they look up to, and obviously they go, I want to be like that person.
Yeah.
And obviously the more numbers come, same as whether it's rugby league, AFL, they just look up to their so-called idols at that stage until they become rivals. That is, as usually it works out in this game.
Even, when I started at 26, I just remember a lot of people thinking I was just crazy because it's just but in saying that, they always knew that I was that little bit of I had that sort of tomboy and a bit of a rough, a rough nut side, sort of side of me. But just to watch the evolution over the years has been awesome. And to for me now to sit back and be classed as a veteran and a pioneer of it is awesome. Someone that's led the way and has people that look up to me because. Yeah,
and it wasn't an easy road either.
No, definitely not. There's definitely a roller coaster. When you see those things, it has not been smooth sailing, and I've put a lot of time and had a lot of setbacks. It's been a cruel sport at times, but it's actually helped build me to become the person that I am. So it saved me, and you hear it all the time. Martial arts saved my life. And it is the person that I came. The person that I was when I came into this sport, I was lacking respect for myself. I'd come from terrible relationship, a terrible upbringing, and I could have played. And we had this conversation before about playing the victim mentality, and I use this a lot. I could have, and I did. I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder. The world owes me
100%.
This, and this because of this. All these things. Whereas now I'm like, you know what? No. This happened. I'm going to own it, and I'm gonna
Now when you get to that maturity stage and you've gone through those ups and downs and the adversity and successes, but you get a little bit humbled in the end, and you start to go, you know what? I'm grateful for the actual trip that I've taken to get to this stage.
Yeah.
And when you become like the martial artist, and the outsiders looking in and think martial artists train to fight. But it's they train to live the martial arts life. It's like a spirit, the martial arts, and the people you meet. Obviously, traveling Jackson's, Winklejohn's got some beautiful people over there, and it's a great gym. Alex and Joe down in Wollongong have got freestyle MMA. They're great people in themselves. So there's a lot of people in that journey that humble you into that state where you go, you know what, this martial arts family is a worldwide thing.
Yeah, definitely. Some of the best people, and we had this conversation before too. They're my friends. The circle of people, people that are like-minded, same people that have that drive as you.
It's weird because you get the ones that live in the neighbourhood and they got their people that come over for the barbecues.
Yeah,
but our friendships, they're all long-distance friendships because you travel and you go, okay, well, I've got contacts in LA, Vegas, Albuquerque, whatever, and it's it's a whole extended family from your family.
Yep.
And it's you could not see them for 5 years and then turn up to Winklejohn's and then go, Arlene or Rich.
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
and
yeah, you've got that bond.
And just straight in there. The doors were open. And I remember when I left Jackson's, I think for the last time when Kyle Noak retired, and I always got the messages from, you know, either Greg or Wink or even Michael, who manages the Jackson Winklejohn.
Yep.
You know, Rich, always doors are open no matter what for life, you know, whenever you want to come across. And that's a special thing to have in that friendships in the martial arts, you know.
Well, it's like someone that's got your back or people that have got your back, you know, that you can pick up the phone. And I know I've got that relationship with a lot of people that I've met through the martial arts world. I'd be like, hey, and they're there for you.
Yeah, 100%. And you started the boxing when you got to that sort of stage. You go, look, I'm going to start fighting, and you started boxing back. I think it was like 2012, roughly.
Yeah, well, I turned pro 2012. So I had 2009 I had my first, or 2010 I had my first boxing fight.
Okay, amateur fights. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, the goal was, the goal was to represent Australia. It was always just that childhood thing of like, you know, actually representing my state, and that was from state of origin. I just remember sitting there as a kid and a young girl, and I would have loved to have played footy. If I was born in this era now, I'd be straight on that rugby field tackling girls. That probably would have been the sport that I would have played.
Okay.
So watching state of origin and seeing them, you know, New South Wales and Queensland lining up and singing singing the national anthem, like it just, and Simply the Best.
I'll tell you,
that's why I walked out to that song for my last fight, because I just remember like I'd been sitting there thinking of like, you know, my journey, you know, as a childhood, and that song just hits me, and it did when I walked out to my cyborg fight. Like that song hit me.
Oh, just pumped.
Yeah. But watching that, I just wanted to represent New South Wales and represent Australia. They were sort of my goals in fighting. So yeah, I remember like I think it was my third fight. I had the chance to represent New South Wales, and I just remember getting my my shirt with the NSW on the back, and I just thought, fuck, I made it.
You get to those certain steps in your life, in your martial arts career, because I had a few myself, and you go, that's it for me now. And I remember when I first started Kyokushin karate, and I was like, even though I'm a blue belt, I just want a trophy. I don't care if it's third.
Yeah.
And I went on to in the town hall back in the 97 or something to win the Kyokushin under green belts or something, 3 fights in that day, and I won the tournament. And I was at that stage. I was like, I don't need to do anything else now. I am the chair. That was my goal.
Yeah.
But then obviously you go, okay, well that goal's that. Now I need to do this, you know, and going forward with yours, with the boxing. Obviously you went and fought for the world title, I think it's WBF, and the women's IBA titles in the boxing.
Yeah, so that was my third professional boxing fight, and that was on a week's notice.
Really?
Yeah, I was actually in fight camp for an MMA fight, the one against Jessie Jess.
Yeah,
so I was in camp for that. Yeah, and then I got a call for that, and I was like, oh, well, my rule with like all my both boxing and MMA is you never turn down a world title shot.
Yeah, true.
Because there's some fighters that go their whole career and never get that opportunity.
Have an opportunity. Yeah.
So it's just like, and I mean, because I was in fight camp training for an MMA fight anyway. We just changed it up, week's notice. Made the weight, and then went over there and took that opportunity with both hands. Like we actually had to pay our own way over there. I actually didn't receive a purse.
Where was it located at?
In New Zealand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we paid our way over there, and I also didn't receive a purse.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, so that was just long story short, I guess the promoters, because I'd only had the 2 fights. I was a 1 win, 1 loss at the time, so 1-1. But I was lucky that one of the guys that vouched for me had been at my debut fight, and he's like, you know what? No, she'll have a crack. She's all right. Like a last minute, is that or the fight's going to fall through?
Yeah, true.
Obviously. So the reason that I relinquished a purse was because that was just to cover the sanctioning fees, because the belts weren't going to be paid for, like I guess against an opponent.
All the promoters,
all the stuff that people don't
get out of it cheaply.
All the stuff that behind the scenes that people don't realise when it comes to, you know, fighting for world titles and sanctioning fees and this and that. So I was like, you know what, if I'm going to pay my own way over there, I was lucky I picked up a sponsor that helped out with the flights and stuff.
Beautiful, yeah.
But I was like, you know what, fuck them. I'm going to go over there 100%. And I'm going to, I went over there, made weight.
Yep.
And won all 10 rounds and came home with 2 world titles.
That's crazy.
Then went on to have my MMA fight and get choked out by Jessie Jess. But
Oh, did you? You end up fighting her anyway?
Yeah, of course,
okay.
yeah. I mean, I signed that dotted line, and that's my rule too. Like, I mean, over the years, my fight in Miami last year,
Yep.
I was on crutches 5 weeks before that fight. It's just, for me, I've always just had that mentality, and it's paid off, and sometimes it hasn't paid off, but it's almost just that respect, because I remember in my early amateur career, people pulling out of fights, and it fucking sucks.
I know. It's one of the worst things. And
I mean, sometimes you can't help it, but I mean, like I said, I probably should have pulled out of some of the fights, but just for my own personal thing, it's like, you know what? I've signed that dotted line. Yeah. I've had, my coaches put time into me. Yeah. You know,
and it's a respect thing. I mean, like, you go, okay, well, there's been a lot of fighters that have been full on injured.
Yeah.
They're not pulling out of it.
Yeah.
Unless it's something terrible, like they just couldn't compete.
Yeah.
But there's a lot who will just, give up the whole right and go, oh, yeah, I know I signed it, but I'm not right. Or they've been offered something else. This is how it works these days. If you go, right, you've been locked in for 3 months, you're fighting this person.
Yep.
And then, a month out, no, I've got an injury or something. They've signed something else and gone off because there was more money or, legit title or whatever it was. But there's a lot of, as I say, there's a lot of craziness in these combat sports.
I always just that mentality. With injuries too, I always just think, like, I remember my first MMA fight, sitting in the sauna, cutting weight for that fight. It was my 30th birthday weekend, and I'd never even stepped foot inside a cage for training, let alone in for a fight. But I just remember sitting there going, fuck, this is not where I thought life was going to be. Like, I literally started fighting 4 years ago in boxing, and all of a sudden I'm having my first pro MMA fight with no wrestling experience, no jiu-jitsu experience. Yeah. Like, I think we scraped the surface on 4 months of training on how to defend an armbar, a rear naked choke, and, some basic wall defense. But I mean, scrape the surface.
When it takes, 10, 20 years to
100%.
perfect, not even perfect these things.
I'm still trying to, But I just remember sitting in the sauna going, you know what? People used to fight to their death back in the gladiator days. Like, I'm sitting here at the end of the day, like, what's the worst that can happen? I get knocked out, I get submitted or whatever, but it's a controlled environment. And that's the same mentality I have with, with injuries going to a fight. It's like, fuck it. We'll just go in there and fight.
As long as it doesn't sort of, break you down in regards to, really hinder yourself in the fight. Some obviously but it's just the mentality of the fighter too. Yeah. Like, if they know they can go through the pain or the uncomfortable situations, and they still know they're confident in themselves. Yeah. I think you see a lot of fighters do that, and they go, you know what, I've got a little niggle injury. I won't say what it is, but I know I can get through that, which is the difference in regards to that. So then it goes from boxing, and then obviously you get a taste for MMA. Yeah. Not a good taste to start with, but and speaking of Jess, she's over in the UFC at the moment, and she's doing really well. From a girl from the Gold Coast, or actually, I think it was. Well,
there was a few of us.
I think she's up Queensland a little bit further.
She was Innisfail.
That's right, Innisfail. Yeah. That's
I mean, for the local scene, like, it was me, Jessie Jess, Megan Anderson. Janae Harding was only young coming through then, but for the most part, like, look at us all now, just doing awesome things.
Just on the world stage.
All backing each other too, like, Megan and I never met each other on the scene though. We've never fought. No. But like, we've all big supporters like of each other. Yeah. Like, I'm a big supporter of anyone with everything in their career. Ex-opponents, dual opponents. 100%. It's like, we're all on this path. Like, get out there and get it. Earn that money.
Yeah. Well, that's right. In the end, it's you got to make a living, and they might be your competitors at some stages, but what combat sport does is, even if you are competitors, always makes friendships 100%. After that, because you share something. Yep. You share something with someone that only you two have done.
Oh man,
so that's that's the story of martial arts half the time.
That's that last fight with Chris and I. Yeah. We've always had big respect for each other anyway. And obviously after the first one, but that fight in itself, I'm sure she felt it, because there was this eye contact in the fights, acknowledgements, smiles, like talking, like, it just, that was a war. Like, it was, I've walked out of fights that I've won, and I've put my head down because I've just been disappointed in the performance and knew that I could do better, or this and that. And then other fights where I'll lose and I'll walk out with my head high because it's like, fuck you. And that was one of those. Like, I'm obviously would have preferred to have won it. Yeah. Won the Bellator world title, beat Chris Cyborg. Like, shit, that would have been the pinnacle there. That's like that New South Wales jersey.
Yeah,
but that's
And that's, beating someone like Cyborgs.
100%.
It's not like you could say, oh, I won a world title. And everyone goes, oh, yeah, world title. So when they go, oh, against Chris Cyborg, wow.
Yeah,
that's
it doesn't matter what promotion, obviously. I could have fought Chris on a nothing promotion, but it's
Correct.
the name in itself. Like,
that's one of the biggest names on the planet at the moment.
But for me, I guess like the stuff that I pulled out of myself during that fight, and that's why I'm just been itching to get back in there. I was like, God, get me in with someone, so I can rip someone's head off. Like she's just lifted me to another level, which is super weird, like super funny, not weird, but like before that fight, I was in the change room and again, like was like, you know what, this could potentially be your last fight because I didn't know what I was going to do after that fight. Because again, like I said, beating Chris Cyborg and winning the Bellator world title is the pinnacle. Like that's it for me. Yeah. And there's other things that I want to do in my personal life. So I was like, how I feel, I'm not sure, but this could be it. So I was in the back room and I was like, well, just get out there and give it.
Fucking throw it all down.
Exactly.
Throw it all down.
Don't walk back in here with regret. And I mean, obviously I walked back in, didn't win or didn't have.
But I think,
did not.
You fought her hell for leather. Yeah. But, the decision didn't go your way, but you were content with how your performance was for that fight.
Definitely. I left it all in there. Like there's no, no regrets or no, I didn't go back. Obviously now going back to the drawing board, we better it again. As in like, there's nothing in my preparation so that next time, whether or not my punches are a bit sharper or this, obviously technical side of things. But I didn't walk out of there wishing that I had have done more. It's like, no.
And you sort of, because you get that stage, obviously you signed with Bellator in 2014, you've started an MMA career, you're going through, you fought Julia Budd for the featherweight title, so you've had that experience. Then you've obviously challenged Cyborg. The backside of it, gym-wise, I suppose it's a regret in one way that you didn't find Jackson Winklejohn probably at an early stage because, we trained together at some stages. You've had James Tahuna, you've had Joey and Alex, and you've trained at a lot of different gyms. Yeah, and sometimes that's a plus because you get to have good experience sparring and so forth. Sometimes it's the opposite where you go, some bad habits from that gym carry over to that gym or carry into the fight. Yeah, what's the mindset? Do you have any regrets that you haven't had just the one, like you didn't find Jackson's at an early stage?
I don't have any regrets because it's a hard one for me because, you know me from over the years. Like it's, with the kids, I had to, and work and everything. Like, my life's been able to progress to give me the opportunities right now. I'm just grateful that obviously at this stage, like I'm still going up. Yeah. So, I'm 39. I'm almost 40, in less than half a year. And, I'm still going up. Yeah. So, I'm very, very grateful over the years. Like it's interesting because at one stage there, I was bringing a different coach to corner me every time for a Bellator fight. And I'm thinking, shit, Bellator's going to think that I'm like this uncoachable girl, like I'm gym hopping. I'm like, but I could try to explain, which obviously I'm like, these guys are all in the same circle. You know what I mean? Like, I had you come over, Chad from Brotherhood in Newcastle. Said New South Wales, but it is in New South. But Newcastle, obviously James Tahuna was with me, Tyson, Tyson's dad cornered me. And then it's been my last 8 fights. I've been, Coach Wink's been in my corner assisting, who's flown over with me. Dion's now been over for most of the fights.
He's like a qualified corner now.
He's one of the most experienced coaches, but but I'm lucky to be where I'm at with it. Like, for sure. I wish I had started this back when I was 18.
There's
you know what I mean? Like,
we all wish.
Yeah,
like wish we got into
shit. But I think for me, being in the gyms that I'm in at now, actually I'm going to say another one too, because Sydney West Martial Arts, which is the jiu-jitsu gym that I train at. God, I wish I had started training there years ago because Luke, what he does with his students and even what he's done sort of with my groundwork, like has just gone through the roof.
Wow,
but my biggest thing I think is just being at the gyms and training with who I'm training with and being associated with who I am has given me the confidence. Like I actually belong here. There's been a lot of times there when I first started, I just I didn't back myself. I was like,
confidence wise, but being a girl too, like in
Yeah.
the martial arts world.
Well, I guess a lot of the times I was the only girl in the gym, so it's a hard one to gauge. The guys don't want to go too hard on you because you are a girl.
That's right.
But then you can't. It's hard to gauge where you're at. So that's one of the definitely the biggest thing with being at Jackson's is the amount of training partners and girls.
One stop shop there.
100%.
But in saying that, like it's even though Jackson's one stop shop, but again, MMA is, and I'm a big believer in when you do MMA training. It's always important to go out and broaden your horizon in regards to your knowledge. I did it as a coach, but as a fighter, there's nothing wrong with, even if you're staying with a coach for a long period of time, just have that one coach, but having the open-mindedness to go out and train with different talent as a fighter to learn different things as a knowledge. And I always agree the coach should do that too. Yeah. To go and learn different things to bring back to their arsenal, their tools and everything else.
I mean, I guess there's some coaches that like to hold their fighters and they don't like that. I've been very, very lucky over the years that all of my coaches have let me just and they respect that with sometimes my situations with the kids and working that I am limited. So I was like, okay, I've got to train at this gym at this time, this and that. So, I've got plenty of other coaches too. Bondi Boxing, I do work with Tony. So literally whenever I can.
Tony, the maker of champions.
Yeah, whenever I, if I've got to do a striking session, I'm like, hey, Tony, can you fit me? And he'll get me in every time. Like he'll rearrange things. I've got Glenn Barrigree.
Oh yeah! Wow. He's one of the legends. He was in my era, when we were fighting kickboxing in Sydney. Yeah, Glenn Bagagri, the hustler or the bustler.
The bustler. Yep.
Man, he's still the guy. Even though when I go to Sydney for the Black Tie Boxing and Jason Lappin show, and we see Glenn, man, it's like we never left each other. We're always that respectful, but we're always had those moments back in time when he used to fight. Yep.
Well, he's got that old school hard training mentality.
100%.
But it's awesome. That's so for me, I've got all these coaches that let me just do what I've got to do and train, and it just gives me that experience. And taking little bits from everybody.
100%. Yeah, you got to.
Yeah, I'm very, very grateful for everyone that I train with. But being heading overseas, I don't have my work commitments. I don't have the kids and this and that. So for me, I train at the I stay at the apartments, go downstairs, train, come upstairs, shower, eat, walk across the hallway to Elite and do all my physio recovery work. Like some days I don't even go outside because I might walk down to the Starbucks on the corner. That's taken a mini fortune from me.
Even though coffee's not the same in America, but you go to Starbucks or I think it's Black Bean or something like that. Yep. I always go off the flat whites with almond milk, but I usually go on to the caramel lattes. Yeah. That's me drinking America's the black coffees and the flat whites. Yeah. Oh, I cannot stomach them. I don't know what it is, but I just can't stomach them.
We've actually been lucky. There's a little place that's halfway between Starbucks and the gym, and it's on the left across the road, VM Coffee. Okay. And it's a coffee, like a roastery, so they actually do a good black coffee, yeah. So.
Yeah, no, when I was there and I was staying with Diego Sanchez, and he'd take me because he was all fanatic about what he put in his mouth, and he'd take us to some coffee shops, and they weren't too bad, the coffee shops that he tastes, but their taste for coffee is different to mine or ours in regards to that. But Albuquerque's, there's nothing else to do really there.
No, I mean, it's funny because I remember the very first time I went there in 2016, I spent the month there. And I sort of stayed around the gym area. I didn't have a car. I didn't hire a car. Like my money situation back then was like I can't spend money on hiring things. But I just stayed at the gym and I was like, oh, this place, there's nothing here. And then, obviously as the time's gone on, I've gone back. I've made friends there.
That's right, yeah. Holly and Michelle. And I see he's on the mopeds going around the place. But
even Shah. Shah's one of the doctors at Elite.
Oh, yes.
Maya, another lady that works at Elite. But, I go off and do, some cool things. And I was like, this place is actually pretty cool.
It is quite big. It's like, I class it as like a Brisbane, but just spread out.
Yeah, and brown. And dusty.
Yeah, it definitely is. And doesn't really rain there. But another good sort of site place up there is Sandia Mountains.
Oh, beautiful.
Up there in the Wild Park when it snows as well. Yeah. Oh, man, we went up there a few times when it's snowing. Have you ever been to the Rock Hut?
Yeah, I actually got a really cool video footage.
Isn't that crazy looking over the top of that down in there? That's one magnificent place. I think we were there when it snowed. And then we're walking with Cowboy and Diego or someone and Kyle and Oak, and I was like, man, those footsteps, or footprints. He goes, yeah, that's just usually the bear or the wolves or something. Oh man, I was walking backwards just so I didn't get attacked backwards. But they said, nah, you'll be right. But we done a run through that Sandia Mountains, and man,
the altitude's something else, isn't it? Yeah.
I think what's the most it gets up to up there? About 7,000 or 10,000?
10,000. Yeah, 10,400.
7,000 is actually Albuquerque.
Yeah.
Above sea level.
Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah. So 10 or 11,000 is the. Yeah. There's not much air up. There's not much air up there.
And it's one of the things, that's why I do like doing fight camps there too. Like you're fit.
The altitude
I know
is
the last
crazy.
few fights, the first 2 weeks, you're getting there, you're juggling jet lag, and then the altitude. Like I remember the very, very first session, we were doing our running, like a standard wrestling warm up. You run around the outside, you do flips and stuff, and I'm like, holy shit! I'm like, this is the warm up.
Yeah, I know. But even when because you haven't been there for a while, but when you turn up, and I used to just start holding pads when I got there.
Yeah.
But even holding pads, I was sitting there going, damn, I'm unfit. What's going on?
Yep.
But obviously the air there is just so thin.
Yeah.
And by the time you get up the Sandia Mountains, which is 11,000 feet, that's another story in itself.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful, the scenery when you get up the top there.
Even just running through the foothills. I'll usually finish the day and go up and do like a 3-mile run through the foothills.
Yeah.
Every Saturday morning is like a sprint. So Holly's taking me up to all the different track sessions. So obviously the dam's a famous one, Hill of Tears.
Yeah.
She took me on Winks Hill.
Oh, okay.
Which is just like you start at the bottom and it's like checkpoints.
Oh, right.
10 checkpoints up to the top. So each checkpoint's different. So the first one's like kind of long and steep, and the second one might be like, just shorter but really steep. And then the third one might be longer but not as steep. But each one's got like its own intensity, but each of them are just as disgusting as each other. But it's honestly the hardest thing I've ever done. And it's Winks Hill.
Those lungs would be burning.
Yeah. Not even your lungs, your legs. Like when you say hill sprints, honestly, it's like some of them are like a crawl.
You do hill sprints over here up the road, and you're like, wow, that's easy now. You do it over there.
But it pays off. Like, and it's the thing. Like, as I say to like anyone that's training, like your fitness, you got to go into that fight fit, because there's nothing worse than like having to be like being unfit. And then like having to worry about your technical side of things, and someone's punching the shit out of you, and
definitely.
it's just
there's definitely some killers over there.
Yeah,
and I mean I haven't been there for a few years, but just seeing still the Jackson's footage and all that, and you just think, man, they're still building some champions in that place.
Oh, for sure, yeah, there'll be champions that'll come out of it. Just. They've got a really good like featherweight, lightweight roster at the moment. It's interesting. Even Wink was saying to me sort of last time I was there, like once upon a time they had like the heavyweights. So, you Alistair Overeem, like all the John Jones. Like all the big guys, and not so much smaller, whereas now it's like there's a lot of small guys, and don't get me wrong, there's still some some heavy guys coming out of there too. Because you know how the heavyweights or the bigger guys spar first.
Yes. Yeah.
And then like the lighter weights. Yeah. So you're down there warming up and you're watching the big guys and you see them in the cage and they're hitting. I'm like, ooh.
I remember in the old Jackson gym when it used to be the lightweights spar each other and the heavyweights, and Cowboy Cerrone used to go to both sparring.
Oh, yes.
He used to spar with the heavyweights as well.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, this dude's crazy. Yeah. But that was back, I think, Acoma, the old gym.
Yep.
But yeah, as you say, that's when Kyle Noak was there, and I got the privilege to go there and train under those guys. But yeah, the Overeems, the Travis Browns, Cody, I think
East.
Yeah, Cody East.
Yep. He's still there having a crack.
I see him just signed. I just seen something come up where he signed under the contract again. With Jackson's. Yeah,
and he's also come on board as one of the Jackson Wink management agency.
Oh, good. Yeah. He was always, he used to do sparring with Bones a lot. Him and Bones used to go at it, hammer and tongs. But I think he had his brother there. I think his brother got murdered or committed suicide or something. Yeah. He was a good dude too. I met him a few times.
I remember watching the two brothers the very first time I was there. But the two of them sparring on the mats, and they were going at it. And I was just like, holy shit, they were not holding back. No. And I'm like, can I only imagine what these two would have been like growing up. But
that's what it was like. That was when Jackson's, the old Jacksons, that's what it was like. It was like you get in there and it's like you get some popcorn because these dudes aren't going to go soft. And they were throwing in like Bones. Then you got Travis Brown, Overeem.
Yeah.
like some of those big guys. It was just like, wow, this is crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Just watching it, in person.
Yeah.
But so in the end, you've fought Julia Budd for the featherweight title, cyborg twice.
Mm-hmm.
What's the next? I think you've obviously signed another multi deal with the Bellator.
Yeah.
For more fights.
I just signed a 4-fight contract, which actually I didn't realize, but put me in as the highest paid female combat athlete in Australia, which is super cool. And I'm like,
is good.
Yeah, that's all good and well though to sign it. It's got to actually fight now. You've got to get paid.
You can't just get the money straight off when you sign it. You've got to go and actually fight.
But it is cool, and it's I sort of am stepping into that role of the fact that I'm setting some records and holding some things now that I am. I still feel like, martial arts is one of those things where I always just feel like you're scraping the surface. For me to be called a veteran or pioneer now, I'm like I'm still learning.
Yeah. When they say that, because it's the years that someone's been in it, and the knowledge and experience that they've gathered.
Yeah.
But as you say, like, you're still feeling young in the heart, young in the mind. So you really, pioneer, that sounds old. I don't feel old.
And I'm like, hang on. Oh, shit. Yeah, that's right. I am almost 40. But it's really cool. Like, probably about 18 months ago, I was really sort of like, shit, like, I'm getting older. And one of the best things about being at Jackson's is the fact that I get to just hang with Holly. And, man, she's just as young as, she's 40, 41 this
40,
year.
Yeah, 41 this year.
But that girl will hold it. Like, she's, she'll come in, not in fight camp, and we're just like, come in and help me with rounds and own my ass, and I'll be like, this girl's not even fit, or she'll take me up for the hill sprints or something, and she's like, I'm chasing her, which it's awesome to have that person
100%.
pacing you. I mean, usually the guys will always do that here sort of thing, but to have another female do that.
She's probably, when I was over there for the 6 or 7 years, there wasn't even, I'm talking male and female, there was not a harder worker than Holly Holm.
Yeah.
And obviously the pinnacle why I was over there in a camp when she fought Rhonda over in Australia here, but it didn't matter what camp she was in. I'd never seen a machine like she is when she's going like in fight camp. It's actually an experience to watch. And just think, fuck, have a look at this chick. She's out doing the guys.
Yeah.
And the guys are talking about they're motivated, they're doing this and that, but fuck, you watch her actions and she's just going like a machine.
It's really cool to, like I said, we've shared stories, and she's, told me a lot, about her journey and stuff. But there's a lot of stuff you just don't know and you don't hear. And that definitely changed a lot of my mentality with things too. So sometimes, especially when you hear, like, you think, oh God, I'm the only one doing this, or this is it. But there's a lot of similar sorts of stories, and you're like, okay, well, it is normal. But for the most part now, like, I sit here and I'm 40 next year, but I'm not about to, I'm not ready to call it quits, because while that passion's still there, that would be the regret. If I was to hang up the gloves right now, I know that.
So you've signed the 4 fights.
Yep.
What's in store? Have they sort of given you any indication of who you're fighting, when you're fighting?
It's my manager's like literally on the phone
all
every
the
day
time.
with him. He's lucky. Like I said, I've just come back from being overseas for the coaching gig, and I sort of had a joke with him because I'm like, "You're lucky for you. That's keeping me busy, because once I get back to Australia, I'm busy.
Bored,
I'm like, I want to fight. I want to fight. I want to fight."
Yeah, definitely.
So we're pushing. I wanted to be on the November 18th card.
Okay.
Pitbull and Nurmagomedov are fighting.
Oh, right. Wow,
so
that's a crazy fight.
Yeah, really, and there's a couple other fighters on that card, but I want to be on the November 18th. That's in Chicago. Worst case, December 9th. But November 18th is the date that I wanted. Bellator will be pretty good. Usually if I'm jumping up and down and I really want something, they give it to me. It's just a case of trying to find an opponent. I had a girl that I fought 7 years ago, which is really funny because it was a fight I had before I went over to Jackson Wink. So before I started wrestling. So it was like I had terrible takedown defense, and that fight was, oh my God. But
well, that's the journey of it, That's the journey of learning different stages and different levels.
Yeah.
And
so she wants a rematch, and I'm like, you know what? I want, like, I'm setting a standard for myself in this fight because My wrestling has 100% improved,
Yeah.
but I'm like, I'm not going in for anything less than a knockout or a submission win myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
It's hard when the girls' pool isn't like full like the guys' pool. You know, you guy pools, you got heaps.
Yeah.
The Bellator girls, it's like you've got a few in there.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like things I don't want to, I beat that person. I don't want to go back to that person or.
It confuses me though. Like, I guess, I'm not at the number one now. I was at the number one, but Kat's somehow jumped me.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm not even going to go there, but that's okay. I've never been about the numbers anyway, but you're Cyborg, Kat and I. And, but I remember when I started out and I was sitting, I came in, I was like, I want those girls up there.
Yeah.
It's always been about, so I'm thinking, why the hell aren't these people, shouting up and jumping up and down to fight me? So 100%. When I do have a person call me out like that, I'm like, respect to you.
Yep.
Let's do it then.
Yep.
And
so it's always too. Like, you got to get something going on.
It's always a dangerous fight. Fighting someone that's ranked lower than you, but that's its challenge in itself. But to be fair, the next fight for me will definitely be the fight with Kat Zingano.
Yeah, nice.
We've been training for that one, working on things now for a while for that one.
That's good.
The thing is, like, do I sit here and wait? If Cyborg goes elsewhere, then that literally puts me and Kat and I in for a title shot. And I'm like,
that'd be crazy times if Cyborg, because Cyborg's achieved everything.
100%.
UFC, Invicta FC.
Yeah. The next thing would be jump over to PFL and fight Kayla Harrison.
Yeah.
I think that's the talks there.
Yeah.
I know a fair bit of money was thrown up on the table, so it just depends on. I'm like, hey, I'll take that fight.
She seems like a bit of a beast in the wrestling department, but it's like when everyone was at that stage when I was training at Jackson's and Ronda Rousey was the invincible, no one can beat her. But
Holly exposed that.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. But I think if you get someone who can strike straight down the pipe, especially with the MMA guys and girls, I think she will find it hard if someone keeps her at a distance and has the belief that she's better than Kayla.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. Like, I'd love to see that fight.
Oh, yeah.
And you're right. Like, everyone's beatable.
In this game, it
100%.
only takes the one punch or kick.
And the biggest thing that I've learned over the years is, you need to believe in yourself to be able to do it. And then, obviously,
you got to go forward in that way. But Harrison's definitely calling out a lot of names. Obviously, she signed with PFL, so she can't really move anywhere to go anywhere. But if Cyborg or someone's not contracted, there might be an opportunity there as well.
People always ask me that, and they, and this is one of the things they always try and get dirt off me to speak illy about somebody. But I'm like, why would she leave PFL? It's paying her good money.
Yeah.
Like,
at the end of the day, it all comes down to, yes, you might be the best at PFL and you're earning shitloads of coin.
Yeah.
Then everyone can come to you if they want to see if they're the best.
Yeah.
But
so, to answer your question, definitely Kat Zingano. Obviously, so Gabby is also a southpaw like wrestler, so the gameplay doesn't change too much in that style that we've been working anyway. Super keen to fight a southpaw. Just because Jackson Wink, maybe because there's so many wrestlers over at the moment, there's so many southpaws over there.
Yeah,
I don't even know. Sometimes I actually feel more comfortable in front of a southpaw because I'm just like, oh, there's just so many of them.
Yeah, true that.
But I just not really sure. I'm just itching to get back in there. Yeah,
get back in there. So obviously, if Cyborg stays around, you're still itching to get a rematch with her again for the title.
I'm not.
Well, pretty much anyone who's got the title.
To be fair, everything was. I'm not saying no to a title shot, no to the title, but everything had been all about the title.
Yeah.
And at the moment, my mindset now is just enjoying this last part. So I just want to fight, enjoy the training sessions, enjoy being at all the different gyms, being able to still train and my body's still holding up for me and doing everything. Definitely. So, I'm trying not to make it so goal-based.
True.
For sure. And you know what the funny thing is? With having that mindset and relaxing from it, I'll probably get a title shot and I'll just be like,
that's right.
You know what I mean? Like, it just,
especially if there's that opportunity again, as you say.
Yeah.
Knock
like,
back
I'm still up there. I'm definitely not knocking it back, but I'm just going to take it one fight at a time and just enjoy that part. I've spent too much of my career being so goal focused, and then you're focusing on that. You forget all
want to be the world title, and just forget the journey and just looking at the destination all the time.
So that's honestly where I'm at the moment, is just enjoying everything.
That probably in my opinion, that's probably more the maturity of getting older.
Yeah.
Is then you start to appreciate different things. When we were younger, we were, I want to be the world champion. I want this or
100%.
that. Now it's like, you know what? I'm getting paid good coin.
Yep.
Now I want to enjoy whatever's left to enjoy. So when you get through this 4-fight contract, title or no title, you finish up retiring.
Yep.
What's going to be Arlene's sort of rich life after that?
I've got my hands in a few different pots at the moment, and that's what it'll be. So I just signed on as the director of female management with Jackson Wink.
Yeah, beautiful.
So I'm already dealing with like 8 fighters from all around the world. Yeah, so I'm like their point of contact. Obviously, like I'm still very new to the management side of things. So I'm very lucky that JW's got like their team of directors that assist me and everything like that. So management was something I always wanted to do anyway, but I think definitely going off the back of Jackson Wink and obviously their name and having 100%. That help there is like
if you got any part of Winks and the Jackson, I mean they've been in the game for and produced that many world champions. Yeah. It isn't funny.
It's not even that. Like I mean, obviously, I'm at a personal level now with Coach Wink being in my corner and Coach Jackson.
That's right.
I love what those two have built together.
It is.
Yeah.
And they've had their trials and tribulations like everyone, and lost fighters, gained fighters because of their partnership.
Yeah.
From my experience looking on, but they've been the sidekicks for each other for a lot of years and produced a lot of champions. And realistically, how do you really break up that team, in my eyes, because it'd be very hard to do. Yeah. And it shouldn't be done because they're both champion human beings too, and with a great
big brother, little brother.
That's what it is. And they were around even their documentary of the what's it called? The Grounds. Just seeing if you've ever watched it. It's called Proving Grounds.
I've seen parts of it,
yeah. Like that, when you look back at that footage, and that's the footage I remember, not that I was back in those days, but those fighters that were on that footage, I got to train with and be around, and it was crazy times back then too.
Yeah.
Of the true fighters, but
well, even just hearing, like, I mean, Holly's story. Walking into that gym at 17 and Wink has coached her for 18 boxing world titles. Like, she just got inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame.
I see that.
Kickboxing story, and obviously then going on into MMA and literally that's one of the biggest upsets in like
100%. And to me, Holly is the GOAT of combat sport because she's done the kickboxing.
Yep.
She's been multiple boxing world champion. She's been now MMA champion.
Yep.
There's not many people, women or guys, that can say this is what I've done.
Yeah.
And I do remember when over at Jackson's a lot of years ago, and she was fighting the local scene out at I think Route 66 Casino or something, and all the Jackson crew would go out there, and I was living with Colin Oak, but we would watch her back then when she first started the MMA, knocking girls out with head kicks, and you're like, wow,
wearing those black and blue shorts. Then it was cool when she got into the UFC, and then she's the UFC kit. Like,
she's phenomenal athlete, but obviously a phenomenal human too.
I put a post up on my story the other day, like it was literally 7 years ago or 8 years ago. I shared a story about like being an unreal athlete or something. It was one of her head kicks and stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
And I'm just like, I'm blessed to call her a friend now.
100%.
Like,
that's difference when you're in that. Then
I still think she's awesome as an athlete, but she's an awesome person.
Yeah, and it's funny when, as you say, that circle that you hang around throughout the world, and you call them friends. Yeah. Where you used to look up to them, and now you're friends, and you're like, I don't see them as like a celebrity anymore. They're just my friend. Yeah, which is always great to have. Yeah. When you're training wise, but. Yeah, just in general.
I even remember when I first started driving from Port Macquarie down to Beastings back then, Jamie. Well, it was James Tahuna was still fighting. I think he was like training for his like last fight at the time. But I was like, holy shit, this is James Tahuna. Like I was just like, I literally wanted to say one or two words to him, and I actually remembered I'd asked him because Mark Hunt was coming down and he was releasing his Born to Fight book.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I wasn't able to make it. And I said to Jamie, I'm like, oh, do you reckon you could grab me a copy and get him to sign it? And he organised it for me. I was like, holy shit, that's really cool.
Yeah,
thank you. And then, but like, hardly even spoke to him. And then fast forward all these years, like it's Jamie.
Yeah.
He's cornered me. He's coached me. He's one of the guys I can message and call in time. Like we both, he introduced me into like the line of work I'm doing at the moment with the mentoring. So, yeah. So, it is cool. Like when you.
The journey of the martial arts, isn't it? Like everyone's, wow, they're my idols. The next minute, they're my closest friends now.
Yeah. Well, the same goes with like, I guess, like Tyson Pedro. Like it's like, holy shit, Tyson Pedro. I'm like, oh, he's just like he's my brother.
Like a big brother now. Yeah. Bam's the same. Bam. He's sort of, he's another great human. He's just one of the boys. People are thinking, oh my God, that's Bam. But when you hang with him, he's like, we've got our filthy and all that. We call each other, but they're just on that friends level. It's a good thing to have.
It's funny actually. My daughter works, so she goes to uni, but she also works at a kids' fun park thing. And Alex Volkanovski and Emma and his two girls were there on the weekend. And Kayla messages me and she's like, so you're like good friends with Alex, hey?
Yeah.
Like obviously she knows like training partners and stuff, but she didn't. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, oh, so he's here with his family at the moment. I'm like, I'll just go up and tell him that like you're my daughter. Anyway, next minute Alex sends me through a photo of like him and Kayla there. But Kayla was just like, oh, it's so cool, Mum. Like everyone at work is like, oh my God, it's Alex Volkanovski. Like, and Kayla's like, oh yeah, he's my mum's friend.
It's great, isn't it, when your kids are like that? Because my kids are the same. They're like, oh, Dad, you know that person? Yeah. And then they get to meet them and they're like, and all their friends are like, oh my God, how did you meet them? And you're like, it's Dad, Mum, they know what's going on. So that's always a special time, isn't it? Special moment.
Yeah.
But what, so when you do finish up, what's the end result is obviously you're having a family. Still continue on coaching. Yeah,
I definitely, I really, really enjoyed what I did while I was overseas, where I was a head coach for a fight camp for Sharisa Sagala for bare knuckle boxing. So, I introduced her to the JW team. I was her head coach. We put, her weekly training schedule together and I got to train alongside her and, cool. Coach her and everything like that. So I like that idea of that. I definitely I would like to have a setup at home where it's kind of like a bit of a boutique style
like
gym.
A personal thing,
Like I definitely don't want to run a gym because that's some hard work there. Oh, man, that's a lot of commitment. Like especially I'm going to definitely enjoy life with my family and stuff. But the avenue I definitely think obviously on top of the management is along with the mentoring, but definitely motivational speaking, just going off and really sharing my story like women's groups and stuff like that, and just even getting into like the schools as well, because especially regional schools.
Definitely. That's a place.
It's one thing like in the city,
everyone's in the city.
They'll go to a shopping centre and you see a Penrith Panther walking down all the But where I grew up in Gympie, Ammermoor, like. I think there was like 75 students in our primary school. Like I used to watch the Olympics and, I used to see, I remember when Kathy Freeman won gold. Oh, yeah. I was just like, you just think they're superhuman. You see these, people that are really in the Olympics or, elite level sport, that they're superhuman or they've been gifted in life, that their journey's been easy. And now that I'm in the position that I'm in, I was like, trust me, like it's not. And then the more I'm around other athletes and you just see we're all just people. And actually, sometimes we're probably a little bit more screwed up than the average person.
Right.
Like we've all got a story, and especially when it comes to females in the combat sport. I always know, like, and I had this conversation with Jamie with the black tie boxing, with the girls that come and do it. It's like, okay, what's your story? Like,
that's
what
right,
if?
That's right.
Because what we do is not normal. Like, most girls 100%. Don't go, oh, like I want to join. I want to be a boxer and get punched in the face. And I was never a dancer. There was a reason. This or that. Like. So definitely
everyone
sharing
has
my
that story, innit? Everyone has that story, especially if they come into combat sports.
Yeah.
I would say 98% of people have got a pretty crazy story why they've got into martial arts, and the other probably 2% go, oh no, I just wanted to try it out. I've had a great life. So it's a very weird journey sometimes that we take, and obviously we're all nutcases at some stage in our lives.
Definitely, but even realizing that. And knowing that you can still just go on to do great things or not let that hold you back.
No. There's so many doors of opportunity, but when you become the martial artist, and you still are prepared to learn and open your mind to knowledge, at the same time, when you mature and become more humble as you get older, then there's more doors of opportunity to coach, to mentor, to then really give you wisdom.
Yeah.
I find it funny sometimes when the fighters or influencers say these days, you know, oh, I'm a life coach now and they're age 20. And you're like, wow. Imagine when they get to 40 and what they're going to do.
Yeah.
But that's when the true sort of humbleness of giving back to society, to martial arts, is when you get all that experience and wisdom.
Yep.
Is that's when you go, I'm going to give that back.
Yeah.
In regards to that, which we've all been at some stages or even still going through that stages.
So like I said, I've got hand in a few different pots. Like I'm back at Zoo Fitness at the moment and coaching. So I was only saying the other day, it gets to 3 p.m. and everyone hits that 3 p.m. block, but then I teach a 4 p.m. kids class and I was like, there's 20, 30 kids. But honestly, I love it. It's actually one of my favorite things. I love it with the little ones. And I just think, and it goes back to, again, when I was a little girl. 100%. And I just think if you have that,
all those girls and guys looking up to you as the coach, it only takes one out of that group to be inspired, and then
just planting the seeds. It's
15
like
years
letting them
time
know
they go in an interview, it was Arlene that got me into this, and you're like,
I think half the time as their parents are more excited, they'll see that I'm like, do you know who you were just working with? And the kid's like, nah.
And you get that stage where the parents want to live the dream, but they want their kids to live their dream, and which is, can be.
I mean, some of them
downside.
I think just drop the kids in for a creche while they go do a workout.
Well, we got to the stage where we just don't allow parents into training because it gets to a stage where sometimes the parents want their children to live their dream, and then you've got to go out.
Welcome to the soccer world.
We're the coaches. You're the supporting parent. That's it.
Yeah.
And some honestly, you get to the stage of some have left because of that.
Yeah.
And you go, we couldn't help them, obviously.
Well, yeah.
But it's a sad thing.
It is sad because, the parents are holding their kids back.
And the kids may have so much potential to be someone great.
Yeah.
And
you see it in the soccer. Like, I mean, obviously I'm a soccer mom. Yeah. But, like, for me, I realise with Keanu, like, he's been doing it since he was 7, so he's 14 now. So it's 7 seasons.
7 seasons.
The last 5 seasons have been at like a high level.
Yep.
Costing an arm and a leg. But
definitely.
in saying that, like, I look at Keanu's journey and just think that it's far more than him, making it over to play overseas and this and that. Like, it's made him a better person, even definitely. Just especially being in goals too, like,
and having D is a blessing to be around, because D's obviously been at that high professional level and still is.
And to let him know how much of a journey.
To knowledge, give the young fella knowledge. That's a blessing in itself. That's good.
But you see so many of the soccer parents that live their lives through their kids, and the kids come off at halftime. And
it's not just soccer; it's
all
martial.
Sports,
it's martial art. Well, boxing too. We've had to deal with a lot of parents that wanted to be legend boxers, and they got their 8-year-olds with us, and telling us when they should fight, they should be going overseas sparring. This is like an 8-year-old kid. You're like, anyway, time to leave. It's crazy, it is.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what was probably the best travelling through your journeys, because as I say, you've been through so much to this point. Well, what's one of your best advices that you've received from someone?
Best advice.
Coaches, personal friends, it doesn't really matter.
Definitely, there's been a lot over the years, but I'll never forget what my very, very first coach, Jason Harris from Allegiant, said to me before my first fight, and he was rubbing my hands, and he just said, like, you will be back in this change room before you know it. So whatever you do out there in that ring, he goes, make it count, because the last thing you want is to be back in here regretting that you didn't do this, you didn't do that, like, and I did, and it's true. Like, you're in the change room, you're waiting for the fights to finish. It just feels like a lifetime. Yeah. Like, and especially when, like, I mean, obviously I work a lot with my sports psychologist now. Like, I enjoy the journey, being out there. Like, I'm not sitting out there fucking nervous wreck now. Like, so I was just like, no, I'll sit here and I'm like, cool, calm. Like, so I finally enjoyed it. But those first few fights, I was like, holy shit, like, I'm, nervous.
Wait, and it feels like a lifetime.
It does. But then you're right.
Boom, finished.
It literally, I mean, sometimes those 2-minute rounds would feel like they fucking went forever if you're not fit.
Yeah, that's right.
But he was right. Before you know it, you're back in there. And you don't want to be sitting there. And that would probably be, and I've actually shared that bit of advice too. Like, when I've cornered people, it's like, those moments go quick. That time goes quick,
100%.
and you don't want to come back. So, I mean, that was a pretty useful bit of advice.
And if young male or female looking up to Arlene Angerfist, what would the advice be to them? What would you point towards them?
Geez, your youth is the most valuable thing you'll ever have.
Yeah,
like I said, I don't regret anything in my life because it's led me to my path, you know. But shit, if I was to rewind time and do life again, those early years, like make choices in your life now that, like, make smart choices. Yeah. You know, don't, before you hop in that car with a group of, drunk people, or 100%. Like, before you quit school and go off and do something, like you need to make sure that these decisions that you make, are they taking you into the direction that you want to be, that person? Yeah. And it's a hard one when you're young because you're not thinking.
Yeah, true.
But I mean, generally be a good person.
Yeah.
Make good choices.
Yeah.
On the right side of the law, but just be a good person too. That's always saying, like, make good choices from the heart.
Yeah.
Be a decent person to other people. Definitely. And then for me, from 26 onwards, like, when I changed the direction of my life and obviously the crowd of people that I was hanging with and that, I make good decisions and I'm a good person.
Yeah.
And
that's all. That's all you need.
Work hard,
work hard, work smart. Yeah, all the rest of
it. Be a good person. The world needs more good people.
100%. And at the end of this journey, or right at present now, what really fills Arlene with the rich life? What is, when people say, "What's your rich life?" What is your rich life these days at present, right now?
The fact that, and I get it all the time, when someone mentions my name, like, I would hope to think nobody does, but like I know that I'm always spoken about with a
positive.
Yeah. Like people hold me at a high, what's the word?
High praises.
Yeah. And it's cool. Like I'm known for like good things and what I've done, which is a really cool thing. Like I said, for where my life was headed before and the involvements and things that had gotten into. It's cool to have changed. Like for me, both my kids have a good life, taking their life in their own directions. Nice. Pursuing things. I'm in a happy relationship, with a man that respects me. I respect myself. Like I've completely changed my life. Like the person I was 13 years ago.
Yeah, it's such a turnaround.
And for me, that's massive. But that I was able to take what I was doing for myself and my family to then have an impact on
others, my
close community, and then now even worldwide. Like I have an impact on a lot of people, and it's a positive impact. It's I lay my head down at night time, and it's fucking rewarding.
Sleep completely.
Yeah.
Well, that's the All Rich Life. That's super exciting, and I just want to thank you for coming on the Rich Life Projects, and it's been an absolutely pleasure.
We could talk all day.
100%. That's what I say. Sometimes these could go for 3 or 4 hours, but I just really appreciate your time being in Melbourne and dropping into the studio, and I just really thank you, champion.
Appreciate it. Oh, champion. I get. Do you know what, man? That's one of the things. Some gyms it's a punch knuckles. It's the awkward, like you don't even know what to do.
Just do like the bra boys these days. Just grab the old. That'll do.
And then there was the elbows with the coat. Yeah,
okay.
so
everything.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.